Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology Podcasts with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost Here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello and welcome to Future Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Juliet Lamar, and we have with us today Adam Wyatt. He is the COO and Chief Analyst at BullBear Analytics. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks for having me, Juliet.
Of course. I'm very interested in knowing what BullBear Analytics is all about, so please let us in on that info.
Okay, so we do market technical analysis on a broad range of cryptocurrencies. We've been doing this for quite a while. We started initially back in 2010, so only a year after Bitcoin was created, on the Bitcoin Talk forum message board, and it's evolved into a real company now. And so we provide research essentially to mainly professional traders who actively trade all the cryptocurrency markets. There's a lot of them.
Quite a few. I mean, do you even have a number for the total amount of coins out there?
I think right now the ones that are actually liquidly traded that actually have a price on an exchange, they're about 1,650. Now that might have gone up since the last time I checked, but I think it's around that number.
I feel like each day everyone is like, oh, yeah, we have a token, we have a coin. I'm like, why?
It is multiple times every day. and I think that's that's just an indication that we're still in an early kind of speculative phase of this whole thing. So I would expect that to continue for a little while, but it won't last forever. That's for sure. So
when professional traders come on to your trading site to get information, is it free? Are there different packages they can be involved in? How does it all work?
Yeah, so we have a free newsletter they can sign up for that every Tuesday and Thursday. We send out the correspondence that we send out daily to our subscribers to the newsletter members, but just with some of the key information redacted. But that just can give people an idea of and a feel for what we do. And then, you kind of, if that's not enough for you, then you can graduate to there's some paid subscription packages, some that focus just on Bitcoin, some that focus on altcoins, some that focus on both, and then there's one that allows direct kind of consultation with our analysts. So there's a different array of options for people. But yeah, it's pretty I would say wonky because a lot of when we're dealing directly with market prices and kind of daily price action, it just involves a lot of Wall Street type jargon, essentially. So people can get a feel with the newsletter if it's something that they can wrap their head around or even want to struggle with. So BullBearAnalytics.com is where they can do that.
Absolutely. And then for your altcoins is different than your Bitcoin trading, right? It seems like you have different plans and packages for those as well.
Yeah, altcoins are there's so many of them, and it's hard to sift through the fundamentals. So again, because we're mainly focused on what's called technical analysis, which means focusing on the price and time data, essentially charts, to tell the story for us. It's sometimes you have to approach the market differently. There's less liquidity, there's more volatility, a lot more risk in those markets. So we like to cover them in a slightly different way. Especially we have two different sections of altcoins. We have one of the sections is for the bigger, more liquid ones, which can trade more like Bitcoin. So we'll cover those in a more traditional way. And then the smaller cap coins, the ones that again are highly volatile and very speculative, those we treat more just as like we have a signal service for, essentially. So we're not really; those are more just speculative trade ideas to give people an idea, just a notion of where they might want to enter and exit these with some basic rules, rather than dedicating daily coverage to those type of coins. So yeah, there's different approaches to the different markets. Yeah.
So I love on here it says your goal is simple. It's to outperform a buy and hold strategy. Go into a little bit of detail about why you dislike the buy and hold strategy.
Oh, no, we love it. No,
you love
we
it.
think
Okay.
we think the buying and holding is the wisest way to go about this whole thing for almost anybody out there. Again, who we're trying to target is people, again, mainly professional traders who are trying to what we call squeeze alpha out of the markets by adding icing on the cake on top of a buy and hold strategy. So most guys in this space have a buy and hold portfolio, one they don't really touch, and then they have a supplemental kind of trading portfolio that they use to generate essentially more Bitcoin to put into the buy and hold portfolio. And that's where you can try to eke out gains over buy and hold.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes more sense now.
Maybe that should be clear on the site.
I was like, outperform it. Well, is it bad? Yeah, because that's just for me
good.
personally.
No,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, these markets are highly volatile. So, I mean, especially for people that are newer to this, taking a little bit of discretionary, stress that, income, buying some and just letting it sit there for a while and observing what happens is the way to go. I mean, definitely the people that are trying to, quote unquote, outperform a buy and hold strategy are a lot of them are even coming from old legacy Wall Street as traders there over to crypto, so they already know how to trade. It's just adapting to a slightly different market environment.
And you guys have been doing this for quite some time, since 2010?
Yeah, so our founder, who's still a partner and contributes analysis, started posting his technical analysis about the Bitcoin markets on the Bitcoin Talk Forum in 2010. Yeah. And it became the Bitcoin BullBear, which then became BullBear Analytics.
And so with all this, with this experience, and you guys have a lot of research to back you, let us know some tips and tricks for people who are looking into investing in these altcoins or in Bitcoin cryptocurrencies.
So, as a technical analyst, I tend to lean towards charts, but that's not something that I would recommend for somebody who's interested in this, newer, wants to experiment, maybe put a little money to work just to see how it goes. I think and I've told almost everybody this has asked me this, even, up to a couple months ago, which should I start with? And I always say, start with Bitcoin. Read the Bitcoin white paper. Buy a little bit of Bitcoin because it's the easiest to get. Coinbase and Gemini. There's U.S. regulated exchanges where you can buy it and keep it for a while safely if you want to. Learn how the technology works. Again, the white paper is a good way to start, but also just buying a little bit and then send some to yourself. Send some to your spouse. Send some to a friend, a little bit, $1 worth, just to, again, feel it, just to get a sense for what is going on here. And then after that, you can start to delve into what are essentially more niche use cases that altcoins kind of represent. But you need to have an understanding of the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, because that's the root technology of all the blockchains that you hear about. So just starting with Bitcoin is the way to go, and not trading around it. I know it would probably help my business if I went out there and told everybody to start pulling up charts and trading altcoins, but that's definitely not what I recommend.
Yeah, the education factor, I think people they're really excited, they want to get involved, but then everyone's very scared. So what are some of the big no-nos that you should just avoid doing if you're just getting into the space? Well,
we see this all the time in our space. People do buy a little bit of Bitcoin. They do read the white paper. They get, like you said, they get really excited, and then they go on to typically, like Twitter or a Telegram group or something like that, and start placing large bets on highly speculative crypto assets that they haven't done any research on, that they just hear hype on in social media. That's an easy trap. We see people get killed all the time from this, buying the top and selling the bottom when we should be doing the opposite. So that's one thing I would say. Be wary of social media in general. Tons of information. It's a great resource, but there are personalities that look to take advantage of situations. And other pitfalls, I would say, just getting excited and putting too much in, even in Bitcoin, because it does, even Bitcoin, it's gotten a lot less volatile since I really got actively involved, a lot less, but it's still way more volatile than any other financial asset that I track, because I come from a legacy background as well, like a lot of guys. So it's easy to get washed out if your life savings is $10,000 and you put $7,000 or $8,000 in Bitcoin and it goes down 50%. That's going to be a tough situation. Let's put it that way. You might be tempted to sell at just the wrong time when you're in that kind of position. Now, if you have $10,000 worth of savings and you put $500 in or $100 in, maybe even $1,000 at the most, if it goes down 50%, that stinks, but it's not going to wipe you out. And you can ride the wave, because the way that Bitcoin has grown over the past almost 10 years, which is amazing, is in parabolic spurts. So long periods of down and consolidation, which most people can't withstand, followed by very short bursts, much higher, that never essentially go back down to where they started. And so it's kind of a patience game, and a lot of people think the opposite. They think it's a get rich quick thing. It's actually more of a get poor quick thing than anything, unless you're willing to ride it.
Yeah, that's the kind of the feeling I get, is that if you want to invest in this, you don't need to go into it with the mindset of, I'm going to go make some money and this is a smart investment. You're going into it with the mindset of, this is a really interesting new way to exchange funds, and it's a new technology that we're going to see where it goes. And you have to go in with that type of mindset. And in general, just learning that blockchain is so much more than these cryptocurrencies.
Agree. Yeah. And I think it's the same thing. People make the same mistake with stocks. They just go, oh, yeah, I heard the stock is going to make people a lot of money, or this is the new thing, without even doing any background research, putting any real thought into it. This is all really exciting, but it's also risky, like a lot of new things.
Absolutely. So that kind of brings us to, why was this company kind of brought together in your mission, your philosophy for moving forward?
Yeah, well, we were brought together because we all just loved Bitcoin and markets and markets specifically. So my business partner and I went to graduate school together, MBA, finance and investments. And so we have always been interested in, and we did some kind of VC type competitions and stuff in college. So we'd always been interested in new technologies. We lost contact for a while, because it was a while before Bitcoin came out after we graduated. But he reached out to me after he saw a tweet after I had discovered Bitcoin kind of independently and said, hey, I got these couple projects in the works. What do you say we talk? So anyway, it turns out that me, him, and the original founder, who again is still involved, are just fascinated by love Bitcoin, but are more fascinated by just markets in general, free markets, and how they express themselves through, again, price and time data. This is just a fascinating thing, especially to me. So anyway, the mission of the company is to, again, give professional traders and those looking to become more active traders an edge via our group of analysts' collective knowledge in these markets and other markets, which is a lot of experience. And to educate people, not, give them an edge. You want to help people profit, but deeper than that, it's the old, give a man a fish, teach a man to fish way. We really, in the process of all this, which is why some of our correspondence is so verbose, and maybe overdoing it sometimes, because we like to give people a real insight so that they can learn from all this as well, and take it and leave BBA and go do their own thing, which we've had people do, which is great.
And moving forward, are you guys going to stay in this similar path of just providing analytics and things, or are you going to start trying to add on extra things for people, say maybe an educational aspect to it in the future, in the next few years?
Sir, oh yeah, I mean, education's coming. That's in fact one of the top things on our list. We just recently restructured. One of the reasons was so that we could add more educational material, both free and that'll be paid. So yeah, that's definitely somewhere we want to go. And then we always get questions about, hey, do you manage money? Will you manage our money? Can you take our money? Will you start a fund so that we can all put money in this thing? And we continue to consider that, but regulatory hurdles remain super high, and regulatory hurdles as far as getting something like that set up properly, but also regulatory surrounding cryptocurrency is still opaque, but we expect it to get clearer as the next 12 months progresses. So maybe after that, but that's another thing we're thinking about, but not yet.
And you guys have been in this space for a long time, and you've got experience on both just stocks and cryptocurrency. And there's a little overlap, but they're still also very different. Where do you see the biggest challenges? I mean, there's the big challenges, but where do you personally think are the biggest challenges moving forward for this particular cryptocurrency space? And how do you think we're going to overcome those challenges?
So yeah, I mean, I just mentioned regulatory, and a lot of people think that's the biggest hurdle. I don't think so. I think that's from what I hear from the regulators and the politicians, not just in the U.S. and the West, but everywhere. I mean, they're kind of, I don't know. It seems like they're not only a lot of them okay with this, they want to see it flourish. Now they're acting slowly because I don't think a lot of them have their head wrapped around it entirely. But I think we're on good footing there. It's going much better than I thought. In fact, one of our old members and guy who posts a lot in our community, he just today came on and said, I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist, so why aren't governments doing anything about this yet? And we've been involved with this for years, and we're going, okay, well, are they involved somehow or something? Because it does seem like they're very receptive. So no complaints there. And by the way, I don't think that there's any conspiracy or anything, but it's just funny that people are talking like that because things are going so well. The biggest hurdle I see is, and I think you mentioned it just a second ago, and it's something, again, we're pursuing for a reason, is education. This is weird stuff when you actually get into the details. I said people are involved, want to get involved, they should probably go read the Bitcoin white paper first. That'll inevitably open up a huge can of worms. Which there really needs to be some good resources where people can go to ask those inevitable questions or to get those questions answered. So, and then not only helping people to understand the technology, but the implications, how to, as we get down, people get down the rabbit hole, how to decipher between legitimacy and, hype. There's just a number of things that people need to, because if somebody gets burned, it's going to be hard to get them back on board. So anyway, there's just a whole cake, layers of cake that people need to be educated on. It took me, I don't know, almost a year probably of daily deep research before it really all came together. So that's what I foresee as the big thing. And somebody made a great point. I was listening to an interview. Saifuddin Amos is a great, brilliant kind of Bitcoin commentator, economist, professor, and talking about, he was asked the question, how do I trust this thing if I don't know how it works? And then the point was made, well, do you know how your refrigerator works, your dishwasher, the mechanics of these things, your engine? And then the commentator ended up going, well, actually, there's almost nothing in my life that I depend on that I actually understand. So eventually, once cryptocurrency is ubiquitous, everybody just uses it, has used it for generations. Nobody's going to have to know how it works. But in order for them to put their hard-earned money into it when it's still this new and strange, it will take some understanding for sure.
And that's such a vote of confidence, because I think a lot of people who don't know the space and don't really realize how deep the rabbit hole goes with all the coins, think that this is something that's going to go away. And I don't really think it's going anywhere. Maybe some of the tokens might go somewhere, but there's going to be those that prevail.
Yeah, I mean, I think we already see that even when these networks are under attack, the communities of the ones that are legitimate are resilient. It's interesting. Network effects are stronger than I think people give them credit for, and that's one of the big things that's at play here.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, Wyatt, thank you so much for joining us here today and really sharing your knowledge about cryptocurrencies and giving us some little insider tips.
Well, thank you, Juliet. I appreciate you having me on. It was a pleasure. Love talking about this stuff. And I'll be back on if y'all want.
And what is the best way for people to get your newsletter, to connect?
Yeah, so they can go to BullBearAnalytics.com. That's our website. Or they can follow me on Twitter is mainly where I'm active, at AKW Analytics, all one word. Fantastic.
Well, Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Juliet. Have a good one.
You too. That was Adam Wyatt. He is the COO and Chief Analyst at BullBear Analytics. This has been Juliet Lamar from Future Tech Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.